Welcome back. So if your garden is thriving right now, there is a chance that you have some unwelcome guests. And that's where Scott Baker from the Virginia Cooperative Extension in Bedford comes in. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so you're going to give us all the dirt today on some of the pests that we might encounter in the garden and how to deal with them.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's today start talking about these pests. What are some of the most common that we're going to see in the garden this June?
Sure, so I'll just touch on, like you said, the most common ones. Probably the first one that I would think about are flea beetles. So flea beetles are little tiny black beetles that really like to attack tomatoes and eggplants.
Okay, and then there we have some, those are some flea beetles there. Yeah.
Yep, and they can be really hard to see and they jump around real fast. But if you see the type of damage that they do, they make like it's been shot with a shotgun.
Yeah, all right, what else we got?
So another one would be the Colorado potato beetle. So if folks are growing, Irish potatoes or maybe even tomatoes, this is a really common insect. They can be pretty devastating if they're left uncontrolled. So they will chew all the leaves almost down like it looks like a skeleton. And the most damage is done by the immature stage. You can see there the larva.
Oh yeah. What else we have?
Well, another one that I see a fair amount is the cabbage worm or the cabbage looper.
Yeah.
So if people like to grow broccoli or cauliflower or cabbage, there's a good chance they're going to have this insect. The caterpillar stage is the one that really does the damage, and you can see there it'll feed on the leaves and cause some problems there, but it'll also burrow into the heads and almost make them inedible, or certainly you lose most of it.
Yeah. What's next?
Another one, seems like everybody likes to grow green beans, so Mexican bean beetle is another one that is pretty common around here. So it's kind of an interesting insect, like they all are. But they'll do a lot of feeding similar to the other ones on the leaves themselves. But this beetle will also do some damage to the developing beans in the pots.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the stages of them there.
Sure
all right, what else do we have?
Well, if people like to grow cucumbers, then there's a good chance at some point they may have a type of cucumber beetle. There's two main types in this part of Virginia, the spotted and the striped.
Yeah.
They can be very difficult to control. Not only do they do physical damage by feeding on the leaves and the developing cucumbers, but they also can transmit a disease called bacterial wilt. So this is one folks really want to keep an eye out for.
I didn't know that, and I had cucumbers a couple years ago, and I just thought they were pretty. I was like, look how cute these are. I'm going to let them live. And then it destroyed the cucumbers.
Unfortunately, yeah.
All right, what else do we have?
Okay, so let's see. Another one that I see occasionally is the harlequin bug. So that can get on a lot of different things. Again, the broccoli, the cauliflower, some of these early season pests, but also on kale. So it's quite a pretty insect, I guess you might say, but it can do a lot of damage. Again, also feeding on the leaves, feeding on the developing heads, and it's quite striking, so you can see it easily when you have that.
Okay, we got a couple more, right?
A couple more, yep. Yeah. So if you grow tomatoes or tomatoes or corn, you might also have the earworm. So that's one that will burrow actually into the developing tomatoes or the developing ears of corn. So that's one you want to be on the watch out. And this one is really common if you grow tomatoes. This is the tomato hornworm, and it's a really big guy. It can be a couple of inches long and looks kind of scary. It's got a horn on one end, but it won't hurt you. But this one can basically defoliate your tomatoes in a very short period of time. So folks want to keep an eye out for this one as well. And then there's just a couple others that I'll touch on. If you like to grow summer squash, yellow squash, zucchini, good chance you're going to have squash bugs or squash vine borers. So the squash bugs are really a challenge to deal with because their populations increase really quickly. They'll do a lot of feeding in a short period of time, and the leaves will just wilt, and if left uncontrolled, the entire plant will die.
All right, now so we only have about a minute left, but I do want to talk about what to do if you don't want to go the pesticide route. There are ways that you can help diminish these bad bug populations.
Right. So we talk about integrated pest management. Best way to think about it is you got a lot of tools in your toolbox. One of them is making sure you plant at the right time. If you plant too early, you might have more trouble with flea beetles. If you plant too late, you might have trouble with other insects. So it's really important, right plant, right place, right time. Have healthy soil. Rotate your crops around because bugs often like the same crop. So if you always grow green beans in the same spot, you're going to have bean beetle problems. you know, but eventually there are some problems that a properly labeled and used pesticide is the way to go. But there's lots of other things, strategies that people can use that don't require pesticides.
Yeah, and real quick, I do love that there are beneficial bugs too.
Absolutely. In fact, there's more good bugs than there are bad bugs. So everybody knows the lady beetle, right? So lady beetles absolutely love aphids. And what I think is really neat is everybody knows what the adult looks like, but this right here is the larval stage of the lady beetle. So if viewers see this in their garden, they shouldn't freak out. They should say, that's wonderful. That's Mother Nature trying to help us. So just leave it alone.
There's another really cool one that attacks the horn.
Yeah. So there's this little tiny parasitic wasp there. We have a picture of it. And if you go out and you look at your tomatoes and you see one that has a thing that looks like rice all over it, leave it alone because it's been parasitized. They're using that worm as a food source, which sounds kind of gross, but eventually they will take care of the problem and you don't need to do anything but smile.
Wonderful, but smile. Great advice from Scott Baker of the Virginia Cooperative Extension in Bedford. Thanks so much for giving us all the dirt today on how to manage these pests with the help of Mother Nature.
Great. Glad to be here. Thank you.